Thank you. It's really a kick to be here. I enjoy saying things like that because little colloquialisms like that I can't say in Cambodia. They don't know what in the world are you talking about. If I say y'all or a kick or whatever, they don't know what in the world's going on. I'm excited to be here. Thank you. Ravid, so good to see you guys, and Doris. Wow. We've been in Cambodia and Dan, see you there now. We've been there about 17 years. And it's amazing how things have changed there. And I want to tell you some about that. And my real goal here today, well, I asked Princeton once, I said, can I just teach there? Because I really enjoy teaching in English. Because for 14 years, I teach in Khmer mostly. It's really nice to teach in English. And a few years ago, I was telling one of my sons that. I said, man, it's so great to teach in English because I don't have to think about what I'm going to say. And he said, Dad, I don't think you really mean that. You think some, right? About, oh yeah, but if I'm going to use an example or something, I don't have to stop and think, will they understand? Will they know what's going on? And so I selfishly wanted to just come and teach. But I think my purpose in coming back to Sunset was to meet with some of the guys and be around some of the people and keep some of the connections, because it's been a long time since we've been here. And the guys that we knew, the guys that we started with here were George Carman and Tim Brumfield, Tim Swinford, yes. Chris Swinford. Sorry, I'm going back now. The guys I know really well, but I can't remember their names. Chris Swinford and Jay Jarbo and those guys. That's who we knew so well, and we're not as connected with the others. But that's a secondary purpose. My main purpose in coming here was to hopefully plant some seeds in your minds about missions and thinking about missions. And as I talked to my wife about this, she said, well, we're really all missionaries, because the Great Commission tells us go into all the world, but really it's kind of translated as you're going into the world, make disciples. So whether you're going to Lubbock, or whether you're in Tulia, or whether you're in Fort Stockton, or whether you're in Cambodia, that's still our job, and that's right. But I want to kind of hopefully plant a little seed in your heart to think about foreign missions, and especially maybe even Cambodia. And my theme today is going to be the light in the darkness. And I'll show you a slide later on that's John 1 through 5 in Khmer. But in that it says that Jesus is the light that came to the world, and in him was life. And we need to be the light in the darkness. And there's a real great chance in Cambodia to do that, because there's a lot of darkness there. And I hope you will think about it and see and pray about it, talk to other people, see maybe if you're meant to be a missionary. Now, I've just been teaching the gifts of the Spirit in 1 Corinthians 12 and Romans 12 and Ephesians 4. It compares us to the body of Christ. And it talks about we're all individual members. And 1 Corinthians 12, he's talking about spiritual gifts, miraculous gifts. But some of the applications are still the same. If you're an eyeball, don't try to be an ear. Okay? If you're a leg, don't be jealous of the hand. And so it's okay if that's not what God made you for or calls you to do, that's okay. Don't try to do it. Don't try to force it. I'm not going to use any names, but I want to use an example or two to help you maybe understand. We had a guy come 17, 18 years ago to lead the CBI school, and he was only there 6 months, and they left. And it's because it wasn't a good fit. It was somebody trying to be something that they were not. And you don't need to do that. That doesn't help the kingdom any at all. But if you are someone who maybe God has equipped to be in missions, to be a person who goes and does that, then I hope you will think about it. And remember, Moses had all the reasons why he didn't want to go. But because he went, he did great things. So I hope you'll think about that and consider that some and see maybe if God, my wife cuts through the chase on things. She said, in America, there's Christians stacked on top of Christians. But you go in other places, and we lived in Broken Arrow, Tulsa area for 17 years. There's 40 congregations there. There's a lot of Christians there. But in Cambodia and other places like that, there's not. And boy, they can really use people. And whether that's in Cambodia, whether it's in Africa, whether that's in Minnesota or the Northeast or wherever else, I hope you'll think about how you can help the kingdom. I'm here to talk some about Cambodia, so that's what I want to do. So I want to go. How many of you know where Cambodia is? Okay, a lot of you. You're doing pretty good. If you don't, on the map, you can see it here. It's between Vietnam, borders Laos, borders Thailand, in through there. Do you know much about Cambodia? This is the country itself. You can see Phnom Penh is the main city. It's about 3 or 4 million people. That's where we live. It's probably not, the landmass is not any bigger than Lubbock, but they've got 4 million people stuck in there. Yeah, because every place there's a place to live, you got something. And we have a 4-bedroom house, but it's really tall and skinny. And so we do the laundry on the bottom floor, and we have to take it all the way to the top floor to hang it on the roof. Okay? We park our car in our dining room, because everything has to double function and do like that. And so that's how the country is. When you see, these are some of the people in our school when we first started. These are some of the Khmer students. A lot of them have graduated, and they've gone on to help plant different congregations and do things. Oh, I need to tell you this too. In Cambodia, when we moved there 17 years ago, 60% of the congregation, 60% of the country, and those are not Joe Biden numbers, this is facts, okay? 60%, I didn't say that, I'm gonna get in trouble with it. 60% of the country was 20 years old or younger, okay? 60% of the country. Now, we've been there 17 years, so some of them have gotten older, but they've also married and had children, and some of the older ones have died off, and so this is it's still a young country. A young people, young population, okay? And do you know why? Pol Pot, okay? Pol Pot came through, the communists came through in 75, 79. They killed upwards of 1 million people. Probably 1 million people fled to other countries. And so a whole generation is missing out of there. And so now then, what you have is a young population, a young growing up population. And they're the ones who really can be influenced for God. Now, when you look and see, it really is a principle that works in a lot of different ways. It can work for good, it can work for evil. That a lot of times it's easier to reach teenagers and college age than it is someone who's a little bit older. We're especially finding that in Cambodia because age is looked up to so much. And so if you're younger, you can't hardly teach an older person. But look at the different examples that you've seen. When Nebuchadnezzar took Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, he took guys from all these countries that were about that age, about college age, and trained them. And in the churches in Thailand and Singapore, the guys now that are the leaders there, the ladies that are the leaders there, the strongest Christians, became Christians when they were college age. Okay? So it can be used for good, it can be used for bad. Pol Pot in Cambodia came and got the teenagers, and he converted them to his hedonistic communism things, and he had them. And by the way, one of the things that some of them had to do to prove their loyalty was go back and kill their parents. Can you imagine that? And see, that's the darkness side that we're being called into, because even though they come out of that and their morals have started to change, they still got a lot of that kind of stuff in there. And so it's a chance to be where they really need to see Jesus. They need to see the light in this country. Corruption there is still just incredibly bad, incredibly terrible. If you go to buy something, if you go to set up a business, you're going to have to pay $200 to this guy and $300 to that guy and $500 to that guy to get it done within a 2-year period, or it just won't happen. They'll just put you at the bottom of things. So it really is a darkness that needs to see the light. And that's where some of our students, these guys and girls that graduated in May of 2009, a lot of them have gone out and planted churches. They planted congregations. I'll show you some pictures of them later on. Some of them are preachers' wives working with their husbands on different things. Let's see what I got next. I've forgotten. This was we moved into the school that Dan and Robbie will know in 2009 because we fluctuated between students. We started out with 9 or 10. We've had as many as 25. We currently had 21, and then we had a graduation. So here's some things that happened there. I just want you to see devotionals at our house, classes at the school. By the way, there's no air conditioning there. And March, April, and May are the hottest months of the year. That's June, July, and August. So I am thrilled to be here where it's not 115 degrees every day. I would like a little warmer than this because I don't have a jacket, but this is okay. This is some of our, how did that get in there? This is my newest grandchildren. I was preparing this, and that just popped up in there. That's my 2 newest grandbabies. I have not seen them yet. We're going there pretty soon to see them, okay? These are our graduates that we just had in January. We had 11 graduate out. It's a big class. We've started a new system there where they study. We used to study all day long. They finished in about 2.5 years. Now we study 4 years. They study in the morning. They go to college or to vocational training in the afternoon. And so these 11 that came out, Samai, that's on my left, probably your right, she, all of her parents and family's gone to Thailand to work. She's a Christian who studied accounting. Next to her is Srang, who just got married. She's 25 years old. And by the way, the Kamais all look about 10 years younger than they really are. So all of these are 23 to 26 years old. If you can see the boy, second boy in from the middle, he's missing a leg. Kuan, he lost his leg in about when he was 4 or 5 years old to cancer. And all of these, none of these were Christians when they came to our school. Not a one, okay? 95% of the ones who come to our preaching school are not Christians when they come, okay? So it's an evangelism at the school as much as anything. When I started out, Chris Swinford, who I do know, okay, Chris Swinford gave me a package that said, when you have somebody come to CBI, we'd like for them to have 2 elders' recommendations and a preacher recommendation. I said, Chris, that's great, but we don't have elders in the country. Nowhere. There's not one. And to the best of my knowledge, there's not any today. Do you know of any? No, because it's still so young there. It's still such a young. So even the congregations that we work with, one that's in Phnom Penh that we meet with in the morning, there are about 40 members. There may be 4 people that are over 40. The rest are 25, 30, younger. The other congregation that we meet with in the afternoon, it's even more that way. It's about 70 members. They meet at the dorm that Rhonda's sister runs for kids to go to college. And there's 70 people there, and Rhonda and I and Julie and Paul are the only ones over 40, probably. So it's all young. And see, again, it's a chance to be the light in the darkness. Because they come to our school, they come to the dorm, they become Christians. A lot of times they meet the person they're going to marry there, or they meet somebody and they become a Christian too, and it influences others, and it goes on and on. And I was walking this morning while I was thinking about this, and I hope there are just a gob of people in heaven that don't know our name, that came from these people because they're I taught their great-grandpa in the Bible school. You just hope that there's a real chance for things like that to happen. Some of these here, Srang married Lek, who graduated before. Some of these meet people that they don't know. I could go through and tell you stories about each one here. They're just incredible. Kuan, the boy who's missing a leg, he was, when he came to school, he was real nervous. He was real bashful. He's become one of our best teachers there. Amazingly good. One of my friends came there to teach, and Kuan, who's missing a leg, was sitting way in the back. And my friend that comes is a soccer coach. And he was talking about soccer, and he likes soccer. And the students all said, well, maybe he can play soccer like Kuan. This boy's missing his leg. And so my friend Jerry said, oh, Kuan, are you a great soccer player? I said, Jerry, he's missing a leg. Why are you asking him stuff like that? There's no way he can play soccer. He just missed up. That's just kind of the Khmer humor there. I can tell you about all these guys. That's not really. If when you go to another country, one of the things that you have to learn is you have to be humble. You're going to be humbled. Humbled because you don't know the cultures well. You're going to make mistakes. Humbled because even as you learn the language, you're not going to do it as well. You're going to say things wrong. This is one I just happened to find that I've written down. The word on the top, can you see how those, I wrote this several years ago when my writing wasn't very good, but you can see how the last two letters are kind of flipped on both words, the word on the top, word on the bottom. It makes a lot of difference because the word on the bottom is no-go, which is kingdom. The word on the top is no-rok, which is hell. And if you mess those two up, and so I was giving them an example one day, and I was just using, if we have the kingdom of rich, and I'm the king, and so I wrote it on the board, and I thought I wrote no-go, the bottom one, but I wrote no-rok, hell. So all the students think the hell of rich. Would you like to be there? And they're like, no. And I said, no, it'll be great. I'm the king. No, we don't want to go. And then finally, I realized my mistake. I think I have time. Oh, I have to hurry. I'll tell you another one that I messed up too. About the second round of classes that I was teaching in Khmer, it was in April, and so it's extremely hot. We have no air conditioning. It's the afternoon class. It's Thursday, so my brain is just fried trying to think in Khmer for 3 hours a day. And so I am trying to tell them and explain that we are saved by God's mercy. Meta. We have all the great mercy, meta, that God can give us. And we can know we're saved. The problem is, I switched the vowels. And I didn't say meta, mercy. I said mate. Meta, mate, which is red hot chili peppers. So I am telling them, we can know we're saved because God gives us all the red hot chili peppers we need. And we can have confidence in God's salvation because God gives us all the red hot chili peppers. And we could base our faith on that. And they're snickering and laughing and trying to point and saying, what did you do? Well, it's just a mistake. You're just going to make it. That just happens. So it's humbling, and yet when you realize when you're a servant of God and you're bringing the light to the darkness, you do whatever it takes. I've got a whole bunch more. I can't just go through all of these. This is John 1 through 5 in Khmer. It says, Kal dal dambong mian prayer bantul. In the beginning was the word, Hainang prayer bantul kung jia moi nang prayer, and the word dwelt with God. Hainang prayer bantul gujia prayer dai. And the word was God. And so it's a difficult language to learn. Most of the time they don't make breaks between the words, so that makes it even harder. For the Bible, they've been real nice and they make some phrases and at least give you some breaks in there. But it takes a while to learn to read and write, and you have to work at it. These are some of our village worships. These are some of our students who've gone out and started churches in different places, and They start with a lot of kids a lot of times because it's a young place, but they build the congregations up. So Kekadon Piset, Chuan and Sreituk, that's a husband and wife. The other one is two guys that met together. You can see they have a lot of children that meet with them. But again, that's the building up part, how you make this grow. This is Sotia's village, where we went out and preached there in 2010, but it's the same style a lot of times. There's not a great place to meet together, so they lay out big tarps and tents, and we teach different groups and ask. Dara's baptism in 2010. Dara started as a guard at the Pip House, and he became a Christian, and he's now working at Rhonda's sister's dorm. He's a teacher there. He's one of the leaders in the church, and it all started, from 15 years ago, and teaching him about God as he started as a guard. Here's some other baptisms in October of 2020. We didn't have a big baptistry there, so they've got a big trash can tub, and they just squat down in it. Now, we had one girl that was a little too tall to make it all the way down, so we had to make other accommodations for her. But these are some of our students being baptized. And what used to happen when we started the school, we knew if 8 new ones started, 4 would quit. But now most of them stay on, and then within 3 months to 6 months, they become Christians from their time there. So again, it is, it's being in the Word, it's the power in the Word that makes the difference for the people there. Just some fun pictures. Can you see all the people on top of that van? That's everyone standing there. Yeah, and they paid some to be able to ride out like that. Family minivan right there. Count how many kids can you see on that? That's pretty typical, pretty normal. The standard of living there is not as big. These are guns in the middle. That was a picture at a bank. And right at the bank in the front, they had a table and said, put your guns here before you go inside the bank. Okay? The machine gun on the left is at a wedding. These are guards. You have police guards who come and protect. Now imagine some of the brides today, if the guards say, I'm going to lay my machine gun down here. Is that okay? Do you mind that at your wedding? Okay. A lot of other things to tell you about. I know it's time to stop. Let me just stop with this story. My friend Ton was a translator there when we moved there in 2007. And he had gone through a school like that, and he was a really good Bible student. As time went on, I encouraged him. He not was a translator only, but he also became a teacher there at the school. And he was the one I had planned to hope to be the one to take over the school for me. Because I always think you have to be, if you're wise, you're planning your successors and building up people who are going to be able to do the job there. In 2010, at Christmas time, Ton and Dennis Welch and 3 or 4 others were traveling up on motorcycles to one of the temples to see it, just taking a little fun trip. And Ton had a motorcycle wreck and broke his leg. And they're way out in the country, and so they tried to get someone. Couldn't get an ambulance there, so they tried to get someone to take him in their car to the hospital. And nobody wanted to because they were still afraid of AIDS in the blood and things. So they finally found someone who they paid him $100, and he would take them to the hospital in Siem Reap, which is where Angkor Wat is. And when they got there's some really good hospitals in town because that's a tourist town. But they didn't go there. They went to a cheaper hospital because that's what they could afford. The family thought they could afford. And at that hospital, they told him, no, you need to take him to Phnom Penh. So he rode to Phnom Penh in the ambulance about 4 or 5 hours. And when they got there, they called us, and we'd made our way back to go meet him. And we're pretty sure that we got him into surgery and everything. He'd come out of surgery and things were okay. What happened was later during the night, bottom line, I won't go into all the details about it, but because they did not operate on him quickly enough, he got a blood clot and it went to his heart and he died. And he was 33, 34 years old. He died from a broken leg. What really ticks me off about it was that he was at the hospital, and there was a foreigner there that had the same kind of accident, had the surgery, was fine. Ton was put at the end of the line because his wife did not know to go give a bribe to the Khmer staff. And so the thing was, the doctors were foreign doctors. They were all really good, but it's the Khmer staff who controlled who got in there. And so they just kept bumping Ton back in the line. And he stayed out of surgery long enough that the blood clot developed and got to his heart, and it killed him. For $50, $100. He died. I'm sorry. I didn't think it would affect me this much. That still ticks me off. And had we known, had his wife known, she would have gone and paid it. She would have done it. We'd have gladly done it. But see, that's the darkness, where a guy's life is worth $50, $100. And that's where they need the light to shine. And there's corruption all through the country, and there's things like that because they're living in darkness, and they need to know the Lord. And there have been a lot of missionaries. Dan and Robbie came over, and man, they're so evangelistic. They just did a great job. But different health things and other things have kept them out. There have been other people that came on a 5-year plan, and Doris with her health has had to leave. There's just not as many people there now, and there's a lot of darkness. And whether it's there or someplace else, I hope you'll remember that we're the light. And they need to see that. Thank you, my brothers.